Native Americans, sometimes called American Indians. First Americans or indigenous Americans are the indigenous peoples of the United States or portions thereof, such as American Indians from the contiguous United States and Alaska Natives. The United States Census Bureau defines Native Americans as all people indigenous to the United States and its territories, including Native Hawaiian and other Pacific Islanders, whose data are published separately from American Indians and Alaska Natives. The US Census tracks data from American Indians and Alaska Natives separately from Native Hawaiian and other Pacific Islanders, who include Samoan Americans and Chamorros. The European colonization of the Americas that began in 1492 resulted in a precipitous decline in Native American population because of newly introduced diseases, including weaponized disease like biological warfare by European colonizers, wars, ethnic cleansing, and enslavement. After its formation, the United States, as part of its policy of settler colonialism, continued to wage war and perpetrate massacres against many Native American peoples, removed them from their ancestral lands, and subjected them to one-sided treaties and to discriminatory government policies. These later focused on forced assimilation into the 20th century. When the United States were created, established Native Americans, tribes were generally considered semi-independent nations, as they generally lived in communities separate from white settlers. The federal government signed treaties at a government-to-government level until the Indian Appropriations Act of 1871 ended recognition of independent native nations and started treating them as domestic dependent nations, subject to applicable federal laws. This law did preserve the rights and privileges agreed to under the treaties, including a large degree of tribal sovereignty. For this reason, many Native American reservations are still independent of state law, and the actions of tribal citizens on these reservations are subject only to tribal codes and federal law, often differently applicable to tribal lands than to US state or territory by exception, exclusion, treaty, or superseding tribal or federal law. The Indian Citizenship Act of 1924 granted US citizenship to all Native Americans born in the United States who had not yet obtained it. This entitled the Indians not taxed category established by the United States Constitution allowed natives to vote in state and federal elections and extended the 14th Amendment protections granted to people subject to the jurisdiction of the United States. However, some states continued to deny Native Americans voting rights for several decades. That is, though 7 of the Civil Rights Act of 1968 comprise the Indian Civil Rights Act, which applies to the Native American tribes of the United States and makes many but not all of the guarantees of the US Bill of Rights applicable within the tribes. That act appears today in Title 25, Section 1301 and 1303 of the United States Code. Since 1960, Native American self-determination movements have resulted in positive changes to the lives of many Native Americans, though there are still many contemporary issues faced by them. Today, there are over 5 million Native Americans in the United States, 78% of whom live outside reservations. The states with the highest percentage of Native Americans in the US are Alaska, Oklahoma, New Mexico, South Dakota, Montana, and North Dakota. This journey into the lesser-known aspects of the Wild West. Don't forget to like, subscribe, and hit that notification bell so you never miss an episode of American Wild West. And as always, let us know in the comments what other topics from the Wild West you would like us to explore next.